And we're
Live.
live!
Yay!
We're finally live. Sorry for the long delay, everybody, but welcome back to a brand new Master Toons podcast with me, your host, George Baum. And joining me today, we have a longtime abandoner or group member known as Sylvia Harris joining us as well
Hi.
for the first time in about
Yeah, a few months.
a few months. And we also have a regular proto, Reed.
Hello, and welcome.
And today we have a very, very, very special guest who I got into talks to come with us. Clint, who many of you may know for his other name, The Rise and Fall of Nickelodeon.
Yep, that's me. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. Anyway, today we have, well, the reason we got him here, the possibility of a revival of classic Nick shows, a rumored Nicktoons crossover that was just confirmed canceled, but I feel like it was interesting to talk about, Wander Over Yonder to end, and the live-action Attack on Titan movies to be released in the U.S. But before we get to that, let's start with the first news, which is the possible revival of classic Nick shows. For those of you who aren't aware of this is a rumor going around that, actually, Clint, why don't you give us some insight on this since Gene's not around?
Well, basically, what happened is a few days ago, Variety released an article about Nickelodeon possibly bringing back classic Nickelodeon shows, and apparently it was an excerpt from an interview they did with Russell Hicks, who is the president of Nickelodeon, and due to this, it was confirmed true, and it was confirmed even more factually correct after Nickelodeon themselves shared it on their Facebook page, and basically ever since then it's been really spreading like wildfire all over the place. It's either talks about, like you said, a movie or other creators trying to basically confirm that this is indeed in the works or in the pipeline, especially Craig Bartlett of Hey Arnold, who has been really pushing to get the show back ever since he got to Nickelodeon with Skyrat again, or Cheryl Chase, the voice actress of Angelica Pickles from Rugrats, also confirming that talks of a Rugrats reboot is really in the works. She's been posting pictures of herself with, I believe, either producers or writers of the original Rugrats, so that's also big news. So overall, as Craig Bartlett said, they're basically working on it. They don't want to make an announcement yet, even though Craig literally said this is practically an announcement. So overall, it really does seem like Nickelodeon, for the first time in easily over a decade, is starting to care about their past even more and maybe wanting to either revive them as a show, as movies, or maybe even more than that. Who knows?
Well, yeah, definitely, because I'm really... full disclosure, I didn't grow up, like, during, like, the eras of classic Nick shows. Like, I didn't grow up, like, waking up every day and going to watch the Nickelodeon on cable or anything. I mostly watched them through... I did watch them. I watched them a lot of VHSs and stuff like the old classic orange VHSs you used to find a lot. But, I'm really interested in this news because, like, you hear, like, rumors about, like, Craig Bartlett trying to get back Hey Ronald, and you also constantly a campaign that you run on your page about the Saving the Jungle movie, which was, I believe, leaked a few months ago or a couple of years ago. I can't remember the exact dates. And so you have all this news going around, and I still think this is interesting, really interesting stuff, and actually shows that Nick's actually making some smart decisions for once in a while.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say smart. I'd say desperate. Really,
yeah,
really desperate.
there is an air of desperation in it because, I mean, I've been reporting Nickelodeon for over 2 years. Lucky me. But I've also noted how many of their shows since like 2007 have really either fallen flat or been almost canceled near immediately or moved to Nicktoons to finish out their run. And with that being said, more of that really has been happening. Like, a lot of their live-action shows haven't been getting the ratings, a lot of their animated shows have not been getting ratings, but overall, it's really about the ratings, because cable companies have been dropping Nick left and right, and overall, a lot of their shows are not drawing like they want to. The only one that's really drawing, aside from SpongeBob, of course, is surprisingly Alvin and the Chipmunks, and that's easily...
Wait.
You didn't know? You seriously didn't know?
What? I've been reporting that since for
I
like
know,
the
I
last
was
month.
saying, George, you're all so late.
Oh my,
Yeah,
wow.
You're not a true fan if you don't follow along.
I do ratings roundups every week, man. Alvin and the Chipmunks gets roughly 2 million views every time it shows.
That's Teen Titans Go level.
The
Yeah,
reason,
but I've been watching.
the reason Alvin and the Chipmunks gets those ratings is because of the brand name. It's exactly why it gets those
Oh! What gave you that idea?
ratings. I guess the fact that it's Alvin and the Chipmunks. But
yeah, I've been,
I mean, the good news is it has fallen off a bit, but Nickelodeon really. I don't even think they expected this kind of ratings from the show. I know nobody else in the world did, but in the end, really, it's just drawing, but nothing else really is. I mean, the shows have been drawing so little that they've had to pull them for the summer, and basically they're trying to revamp them in lineups, and Bella and the Bulldogs basically got pushed back an entire month. Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn is not back at all, and that show might be gone soon if it's not back soon.
Yeah, they only have
overall,
Game Shakers this year.
This
month?
Yeah, and an update for everybody who cares, which is no one. The School of Rock reboot will not be airing this year. It was supposed to. It was actually supposed. The School of Rock reboot that they announced.
Who's Hazel May?
It was supposed to air. I think it was supposed to air this year somewhere in the fall, but it never came through.
Who the heck is this?
What's this?
Oh god, this is gonna be turning into Unfriended or something. Okay, which one of you killed an innocent woman?
No, it's Ryoga.
Oh, Ryoga.
But yeah, the School of Rock is not happening. So yeah, it shows that Nickelodeon's also having quite a bit of problems with their production, at least from what I've seen.
I've been seeing that Alvin and the Chipmunks is airing a lot more than SpongeBob nowadays. Like half of the morning.
Nickelodeon has had a lot of problems with producing their shows because, one, they're very cheap, and two, they've had problems creatively with some of the creators. Like Pico Banana Cricket was pushed back like nearly an entire year because the creators of the show didn't know that they were doing 11-minute format instead of a half hour with each episode.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Christ.
There's been quite a lot of miscommunication and a lot of bad things. But one of the only shows that really hasn't had much of a problem creatively and producing is Harvey Beaks, and that's suffering in ratings because Nickelodeon don't know how to advertise.
Yeah, and then the next four episodes were leaked like a week ago. So there goes that.
I think it was actually 6 at this point.
Jesus 6 episodes? I thought I saw 4. Okay.
No, I think it was 6.
Are you serious?
There were a lot of episodes leaked from like every show at once. Harvey Beaks got leaks. As you guys know, the last podcast you did, Being Puppy Cat, got leaked, and I watched that, and I will not mention more of it because it makes George very angry.
Yeah, it does.
We got a regular Richard Pryor over here.
Yeah.
Don't worry, George. We all get angry over things. I especially do. But yeah, it does. It's a mess. Like especially what other shows were leaked? Rick and Morty got leaks, but those stopped. Gravity Falls would have been leaked if Alex Hirsch didn't basically beg the person who got the leaks not to post them.
Okay. That's a nice leaker. That's a good leaker. Good job. You follow the rules.
But yeah, overall, Nickelodeon's had a lot of problems, and as you can see, I think Nickelodeon has just finally said, like, whatever we're doing right now is not enough, and we need to dig back into the vault and basically, hopefully, quiet some criticism that they basically have. And as somebody just typed, I think it was Sylvia who just typed it, CN's really pushing the envelope as well, bringing back classic shows.
Well, yeah, but
specifically,
CN in a span of maybe 2 weeks brought back 3 classic shows. They brought back Courage the Cowardly Dog in the mornings. They brought back Baby Looney Tunes, and now I think starting this week they will be airing Shaun the Sheep at an 11 o'clock time in the morning.
Oh wow, really?
They also brought back the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, which hasn't been on air in over a decade.
Yeah,
but that's on Boomerang.
That's on Boomerang though, and they're also going to be doing that.
Has this turned into like the useless information about Nick and Cartoon Network show, or are we talking about news?
Well, the thing is that the reason why we're seeing all of these classic shows on Cartoon Network and Boomerang is that Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation specifically actually have made a brand new deal. So what does that means that all of the shows produced by WB Animation in the past, which does include many of the Looney Tunes shows like Duck Dodgers, and quite possibly even classics like the Bruce Timm universe, such as Justice League Unlimited, might be coming back to Cartoon Network and Boomerang respectively. So now we're seeing all these classic shows popping up.
Yeah, but in other words,
speaking of Justice League, because Sylvia also mentioned it in the chat. Justice League will also be coming back to CN in some fashion, whether it's the main network or the Boomerang network, with Justice League Action. That is the other big CN news. So, yeah, CN's really just hitting on all cylinders right now in terms of, like, the good news.
Hits his head.
Well, I think it's because, like, when it comes to, like, business practice, I feel like, in terms of that, Warner Brothers gets that down really well, because, like, I don't watch I have cable. We've just got it since we just moved into I just got done moving into East Side Slip, New York, and we had installed Optimum into our house. I barely watch any of the new shows on. The most I watch are shows on MeTV, which is a classic TV show network. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear news like this gets me excited because it's stuff I want to watch. I can't really name many shows on TV now that I really want to watch. I mean, granted, I haven't seen stuff like The Walking Dead and stuff like that, so I'm not sure if I'm like lost behind.
I don't watch much Walking Dead, but I just watched that new Fear the Walking Dead, and I thought that was pretty good for the 2 episodes I've seen of it.
Oh, the new one is so bad, but we're getting off track.
I thought it was
anyway,
alright.
I don't know. But anyway, my point is that I feel like Nick is finally getting that right, that people don't want to watch these incredibly shit sitcoms and these incredibly shit shows.
It's showing. It's showing.
And what was that quote that Hicks said about the kids and leftovers?
Oh yes, Russell Hicks said in an interview, and I remember the exact interview. It was when Bella and the Bulldogs was just debuting. He was basically saying, kids these days don't care about last generation's leftovers.
Hypocrites.
And about as soon as he said that, not only did he say that as soon as Nickelodeon greenlit Augie and the Cockroaches, which is a 1999 show. The newest season was like 2010, but it's an origin 1999 show. But then they did the stupid Olsen twins thing, which basically destroyed their ratings.
Now it's on Nicktoons.
Is it? It's still.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Wow.
Well, at least they got smart enough that it's not on the main network. True. That is destroying them.
Whatever.
So Little Time got maybe the lowest ratings I've ever seen on Nickelodeon in quite a long time. It got like 0.4 at one point.
Oh, that hurt.
Christ!
That hurt to hear.
That's nasty.
My point was, like, this brings me back to the main topic. I feel like now Nick is finally getting to their heads that they've been in a rut for the past couple of years and that their viewers have been wanting something more. I think this also ties into what Doug Walker talked about in his latest review of Pixels, about how more people are done seeing like the typical stuff we've been seeing for the past couple of years and want these creators to evolve. And I feel like that's what Cartoon Network is doing, and that's what Disney is doing. Has it worked? Some have, some haven't. But for the most part, they're at least trying to be something new. Whereas Nick has been stuck in the same rut of putting out like SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, and all these shit sitcoms out for the sake of just bringing more viewers. Once in a while, you get something like once in a while you get something like House of Anubis or Tough Puppy that are at least try to like be something new from the typical stuff we've been seeing. But even those got the axe like really badly.
Yeah, the one thing I say about Nick all the time is, as you said, they really do fall back a lot on the nostalgic factor. Like if you look at it, a lot of their shows are not really, aside from the live action, like original shows. The only original animated shows they have right now, aside from Sanjay and Craig, which is I think on its way out the door at this point, and Breadwinners, which doesn't air at all on the main network anymore,
Wait,
are
what?
Actually, it's going to.
Actually,
It's going
I'm
to
gonna have
next week.
I'm gonna have to correct with you on that one because
has it been airing on the network? I haven't seen it.
It has been. It's going to start like next week, I believe.
well,
Days.
let me correct you on that one because the Animation Guild, which recently launched a report on the status of all the current and upcoming animated works that are being done in LA. They did make the report that as far as Nickelodeon's concerned, many of the current shows they have right now and the upcoming ones, so that includes Sanjay and Craig, Breadwinners, Loud House, Pinky Malinky, a show called Shimmer and Shine, I don't know what that is, and then the Ninja Turtles, The Odd Parents, and Pig Book Banana Cricket, they are given a multi-episode order in various stages of work. So even though we're not seeing Sanjay and Craig and Breadwinners at the moment, according to the animation blog, it's still being produced, so we're likely going to be seeing more of these episodes somewhere down the road.
Yeah, well, Breadwinners and Sanjay and Craig, I think, just started their new season, so they could either still be in production or not done yet. But overall, as I was saying, those Harvey Beaks, Pig Goat Banana Cricket, and the upcoming Loud House, really, those are the original ones. But if you look at a lot of Nickelodeon's programming, a lot of it, like TMNT and Alvin, they're successful, but they're not Nickelodeon ideas. A lot of Nickelodeon's original ideas aren't drawing, and that's either due to the part that they're not good, or they're just not advertising them well. They only really seem to care about like what they have already, and they don't like to build on what they have. Like,
I feel like it's not just...
when SpongeBob first came in, it wasn't the big fish. It was it was in a sea of a bunch of great Nicktoons. And then they just seemed to focus on SpongeBob, and the other Nicktoons died out, and they didn't make any new ones. As I always say, I think it's a miracle that Avatar survived.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Korra got screwed over the head.
But I think there's some. I think there's something that makes it interesting is that Nickelodeon right now, as far as animation is concerned, their biggest ones are indeed Alvin and TMNT, which is basically not.
Of course.
Well,
it's only because they're brand names. That's really it.
Yeah, and not exactly a show that's entirely developed by Nick themselves, despite the fact that in the case of TMNT, Nick officially owns it. Compared that to Cartoon Network, in which we have at least five or six. I can't recall exactly. 5 or 6 hits that are basically developed by CN themselves. So Adventure Time, Regular Show, Steven Universe, Weaver Bears, and so on and so forth. While at the same time, they also managed to bring in successful licensed shows such as Sonic Boom, Transformers: Robot in Disguise, and Pokemon, and even Lego Ninjago. So there's this.
There are other companies around the world, like The Amazing World of Gumball from the UK.
And of course, stuff from Teletoon. Whether you like Teletoon or not, they did. Everybody, for some reason, still likes it. That's why the Redonkulous race is going to start tomorrow. But yeah, there's this. Cartoon Network has this fine balance of licensed and original content that everybody wants to watch, compared to Nickelodeon, where they're pretty much heavily relying, if they didn't find their original content as that good, then they're relying on licensed franchises, or in the case of the upcoming Miraculous Ladybug, shows from other countries.
Yeah, which I also don't really think is necessarily a problem with like Nick or Cartoon Network. I feel like this is a problem with just how like the entire industry and entertainment industry in general, like they were relying too much on like nostalgia and stuff like this without overlooking some of the more original ideas and content out there. Like I think we talked about this as well with the Fan Four Stick podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, where
Yeah.
where I was talking about like the ideas that there are good movies out there, like abundance of like franchise stuff like this, but people overlook like exists like really original, really inventive, really well made movies and shows and stuff like this, and I feel like people are just focusing so much on the shit that they're just overlooking all the good that exists instead of supporting that. So
Yeah.
I'm glad Nick is actually getting it through their heads that maybe they should just get out of this rut and actually go back to what made them successful in the first place.
But now the problem is,
like,
now it's been like a decade or so that the Nicktoons have actually aired beyond SpongeBob. How's it going to connect with this generation's kids?
Well, it depends. Really, it depends on the support. If it's good, it's good. The writing has to be good, and the people, you know, if they bring back certain shows, that has to be good enough. Like, see, I don't worry about Hey Arnold if Craig Bartlett's on the job. As for Rugrats, it depends on if Class Teacher Paul are on the job. So really, I don't know about other shows.
Sorry, I was hearing the Rocket theme, so I had to make that reference from We Bare Bears.
So was I. Oh yeah, the new episode, that was good. Overall, I could see a lot of these Nicktoons connecting to a new generation, especially Hey Arnold, because I honestly think that's a very funny show. But
yeah, Hey Arnold still holds up to this day. Like I watched a few episodes of it when it was still on Netflix about a couple of years ago. It really does still connect really well with, and I think my brothers as well watched a lot of old Nicktoons as well, and they love them as well.
Yeah, a lot of if you watch a lot of kids these days, like in this generation, actually a lot of them still know about the classic Nicktoons because a lot of them really still watch them like through the internet or through other mediums like streaming, and a lot of the kids still watch these old shows. And if you actually, I remember seeing somebody who did a survey with a classroom that they had full of like third graders, just not even a year ago, where he asked kids what Nickelodeon shows that they liked, and a lot of the kids loved, like this was before Harvey Beaks came out and stuff, a lot of the kids loved the old Nicktoons, like that he listed, and a lot of them were iffy on Sanjay and Craig, and all the kids hated Breadwinners.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah,
really smart kids.
Yeah, it was a classroom survey, and I mean that doesn't speak for every kid, because obviously Breadwinners did enough to get a second season, and I can see that. But
well, I mean, I have a little brother. He's about 6, and whenever like something like SpongeBob or something shit comes on to like online, he immediately just sits down and watch it, whether it's good or new or old. So
yeah.
I guess that speaks a lot for the generation now, but I'm glad, like, as I've been saying, I'm glad they're finally getting through their heads that maybe they should just stop with this and actually, like, think about good business practice and stuff that will actually make them more ratings and more money. Will they be good?
Yeah.
50-50 chance, fans, to be honest. Like, Craig Bart, that's a good goal. If he gets on board, that's fine. The others, like Cat Dog, Rocco, Rugrats, stuff like that,
depends on what
possible. It just depends on who's going to be working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
like if they get like people who originally worked on the show, that would be good. If they're getting people from like some of the newer shows, that will be fucking awful.
And
it just all depends on.
One of the shows I've seen the most that people want back is Danny Phantom. I haven't seen so many people want that back. And I don't know how.
A lot of people, I think the top 2 shows that people have garnered back for Nickelodeon, well, technically 3 if I want to count a live action one, on my page are Hey Arnold is definitely number 1 because Hey Arnold was never finished, it never got the Jungle movie that it was supposed to get, and overall it was supposed to have this conclusion and it was supposed to have this resolution, and it never did, and it deserved it, so that's basically why everybody wants Hey Arnold back. Danny Phantom is a bit different. It had a resolution, but the resolution sucked. In my opinion, it did anyway. I mean, it wrapped up some loose ends. I mean, Danny got the girl in the end, which, everybody loved Sam and Danny as a couple. I didn't hate Sam and Danny as a couple. I didn't think it was incredibly rushed in that sense, but there were so many unanswered questions, especially from the Ultimate Enemy special that was never brought up again. And I honestly thought that what they did with Vlad was terrible, because I always loved Vlad as an antagonist, and the way he went out I just thought was awful. Completely and utterly awful. And overall, Danny Phantom could serve as well from a season wrapping things up. How long it's set into the future after the first season ended is up for debate. But Butch Hartman wants to do it, and I say if he wants to do it, let him do it. Because Fairly Odd Parents is just already in the grave. I really just can't stand it anymore. And overall, that one I just think would be the second best benefit from a revival, especially with the people behind it. Because if Butch is behind it, a lot of the staff from the old Danny Phantom would be. And the live-action one everybody wants to see back is Legends of the Hidden Temple. Like, everybody wants that back that I've seen.
Well, I would agree with that one. I think that was one of the best live-action shows that Nick has made during that time. When it was also the period, I believe, where Cartoon Network wanted to compete with Nickelodeon on the live-action content, so they made See and Reel.
Don't remind us of that unmentionable idiot.
The thing, well, CN did try that hole in the wall, which was so bad that ABC dropped it.
Wait, ABC?
I mean, that was.
Disney?
I mean, I remember watching
they gave it to
Hole in the Wall
Wait a minute.
as a Japanese show. That was really funny because the Japanese really were really creative on what kind of holes they make and what kind of contestants they bring. But when the American version came out, it was not funny at all. It was terrible at best.
There was a
sold it
Hole in the Wall was a remake?
Yes, it's a remake of a game that was done in a Japanese variety show.
That explains a lot.
Did Cartoon Network sell the show to ABC?
No, it started on ABC.
Okay.
It started on ABC, and I guess ABC didn't want it, and Cartoon Network picked it up for like a month.
Oh, okay. I thought they sold it to Disney. I was going to say, how's that possible?
If you guys want to talk about that, do you guys know Wipeout?
Yes.
Popular.
Yes.
I love Wipeout.
That basically started as a Japanese show too.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It's actually a loose adaptation of the game show called Takeshi's Castle, which for those of you who had Spike TV at that time will remember it under the name MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Yeah.
So this is basically what Wipeout is loosely based on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the American is funny.
And
sorry, how did we go from talking about the revival of classic Nicktoons to like Takeshi Takano game shows?
It's because of the live action Nickelodeon and how CN was trying to compete with these kind of shows, and that's how we got to that one.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I will admit that Nickelodeon during the time of like 2008 to 2010 had a very, very strong drawing when it came to live action. Because if you look at some of their top-rated shows ever, iCarly has like 3 of the spots.
I would have to agree with that because I remember I was actually watching iCarly at one point, and then after that I actually switched to Disney to see Hannah Montana, which was also airing at that time. And I actually preferred iCarly over Hannah Montana in terms of both the storyline, the characters, and perhaps most importantly, the comedy, because there's one thing I do criticize with Disney as far as their live action concerned is that as far as their humor is concerned, none of them are funny at all.
None of them, not the modern ones, the old ones.
But iCarly and prior to that, Drake and Josh, because it's Dan Schneider actually did that.
Drake and Josh.
The writing was good, so that even if you're a kid or an adult, you can actually laugh at it, and that's something I actually enjoyed during that time.
My mom
And
is
don't
like,
people want Drake and Josh back? Now that I think of it.
Yeah, people
Or
do want
don't
Drake
they
and
want
Josh back as well.
My mom's like 45, and she still laughs her ass off when I share like Drake and Josh posts that you post a lot, Clint.
Thank you. I post one every day.
Yep.
In fact, in like a half hour, another one will go up.
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Just to date, just to let everybody know that watches this when it goes up on YouTube, how dated it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've talked about this for way too fucking long.
But yeah, hey, it's a topic people have a lot to say about.
Yeah.
Yeah. You range from talking about revival classic Nick shoes to Takeshi Takano game shows, Drake and Josh, Hannah Montana, and tons of other things. So I guess it really does show you how one topic can bring to a lot of other things.
And speaking of Disney,
at least for the most part, we did say everything we really needed to say. Even if it did go into a bunch of other topics, it still sort of came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyway, speaking of revival of Nicktoons, keep in mind those was recently closed, but I felt like it was worth talking about. I forget what website clarified this, but there was a rumor going around about a fully CGI Nicktoons Avenger-style crossover movie, apparently done by, I believe, Nicktoons Animation, and big shock. This was actually dropped down by a lot of people, and it was only dropped out by one site.
Yes,
but
it was the original site was called Tracking Board.
Yeah. So yeah, like unrelatable source, and now it's being confirmed canceled. But here's my question: what if this was actually real?
No, I don't know.
Like I feel like I said this originally when I first heard about this. Like this sounds completely bizarre. This sounds like really dumb. But if they get like a lot of the same people that worked on these classic Nick shows, Cat Dog, Rocco, Ren and Stimpy, Hey Arnold, a ton of others, and get them all together to make this, I could see this really, really working well. Because like if you look at the success of the Sponge Out of Water, and that pulled in like what, 200 million, maybe more.
Quite a lot of money.
2002. Yeah, it made a lot, and that used a variety of different animation styles, including CGI, hand-drawn, stop-motion, flash, tons of others. So yeah, I could see, and it showed that like these characters can work really well in CGI. So I'm not sure like these can't either. Again, this is now confirmed canceled, but I still feel like Paramount is missing out on a golden opportunity to like capitalize on this with this also revival of possibility revival of classic Nicktoons on Nickelodeon.
The thing about it is, I do think that there are a lot of possibilities for the movie. I think it could go a lot of places. But as far as I know, and I believe it has already been confirmed, that this is not a real report. Tracking Board is a very unreliable source of news, and that is where everybody who has shared it has gotten their source from, including Cartoon Brew, who is usually very reliable, but this just seemed to fool almost everybody. I just, I even posted about it to my page, I like this idea, I think it could work, it could also fail miserably, but I just believe that I just don't want to get hyped until everybody, oh yes, this is definitely going to happen, everybody get excited when it's not confirmed true. It's just,
well, yeah, that's what I'd say a lot,
the source just isn't strong enough.
But now that people know, then maybe people will call for it. Who knows?
I wouldn't be so sure of that, guys. As a guy who's alright, I'll get you back on it. Hold on.
That's fine. Anyway, as I was saying, I say this a lot when it comes to when I hear an announcement of news, like new movies coming out, reboots, franchises, whatever the fuck. I really don't care because I know why these are made, but at the same time, with the right, I feel like people are overlooking, just because these franchises are getting, so many reboots are out, many people are overlooking, these could actually be really good with the right talent behind it. I say this about anything. I said this with my friend a lot, that
I would agree with that one.
You can take anything, just give it the right script, the right direction, the right premise, and the right foundation, and you can turn in the gold.
Well, here's the problem, George, is that I was about to say until I got a phone call, is that the
It's fine.
problem with that with if we're gonna if there's gonna be a crossover featuring all the Nicktoons characters,
Yeah.
it's a challenge because in part number one you have to be the viewer has to be familiar with pretty much everybody and assumes that they know their background stories and how will these characters interact with one another. Now,
Yeah, of
let
course.
me let me explain. In Japan, there's this crossover franchise called Super Robot Wars, which basically a long-running crossover series featuring various giant robot anime. So that will include. So if you're familiar with Macross or Gundam Evangelion or even Voltron, they're pretty much in it. And what the Japanese did is that in each story, they actually managed to introduce these characters into the main storyline. So basically give their origins, but at the same time, their origin stories are somehow connected with another show. So let me put it this way to make it easier for you. Let's say we have SpongeBob or SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, and the Fairly Odd Parents together. What they're going to do here is they need to introduce who they are and how they are connected as far as their origin stories are concerned. And
Well,
when
I
you
feel
have
like.
these, okay, go ahead.
Well, I feel like a good comparison, like to an idea like this, is I think a lot of people are thinking this well. Is probably the Lego Movie. Like when you
Yeah.
think about like when I think of that movie, I think of like a ton of properties, a ton of ideas just thrown into the screen. Like every single frame, you see like an iconic character, an iconic character there. Like that Cloud
Yeah.
Cuckoo scene was like just like a advertising porn, character advertising porn practically. But I feel like they didn't necessarily need to like over-explain who these characters are because they're so
Well,
iconic.
well,
But
that's
brings
the
into
that's
brings
the
into
that's the
problem with
difference
this.
with the Lego movie George, is that the
Yeah,
characters introduced in the Lego movie are already pop culture icons
that's what
that
I was
you
about to
already
say.
know.
That's
But
what I was
in the
about to
case of
say.
a Nicktoons crossover, a number of them are indeed pop culture icons like SpongeBob, but there are also a number of them that are not pop culture icons. That are,
Yeah.
or in a case, not many people would know who they are.
Well,
Here's
yeah.
the thing. Here's,
But
so,
Something
here's a
like
way you
Ryoko,
could,
for example.
here's a way you could do something like this. Even if you have a short explanation through even think about an opening where it's just like flicking back and forth between channels, and it's just showing like some of the openings of some of the shows. That's a good way to at least show who these characters are and where they're coming from. At
yeah, I
least
feel that's a good
that
idea.
gives an opening in a small sense, and it doesn't take up much movie time.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I feel like if you're like I back to what Ryoga is saying, like a lot of these characters are very obscure. I feel like that could also give some clarity to some people who don't know about these characters. Like they see like a trailer or something, they see like all these weird characters and stuff, and maybe they'll think to themselves, "Who are these characters? And what shows are they from?" And look them up online and watch a few episodes. And say, "Okay, I get who this character is now." So I don't necessarily have to go into this
Actually,
like completely.
personally, I would prefer the exact opposite because that's actually how I became an anime fan. Is
Oh
that when I
really?
actually started playing Super Robot Wars, I didn't know who this Combattler V was, which is a five jets that turned to a giant robot. I didn't know I never watched the original anime, but I learned its story through the game, and then that got me interested to watching the anime, and sooner or later I became a fan of it. And
Oh wow.
that's what made Super Robot Wars very much popular, even if for those outside Japan, because it allows gamers to be introduced to these giant robot animes that they never heard of, and then they get to check it out themselves and then loving it. And I'm if ever Nickelodeon decides to do this mega crossover movie, I'm hoping that they would provide the same approach in that rather than forcing the viewer to actually go and watch, let's say, I'm looking for obscure obscure animation here. Uh,
As told
my
by
mind's gone
Ginger.
blank. let's try Cat Dog for example, or Angry Beavers for example.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rather than telling these people, if you want to know who the Angry Beavers are, you gotta watch the show and show. Let them be exposed to Angry Beaver first on the movie, and if they like it and they got curious, then they watch the original series and hopefully like it.
Well, I think that's a good idea because, like, if you keep the characters like they are, like in their original form, you show off their like traits in like special scenes where they interact with, like single scenes where they're like in their original shows, like say in the original form of animation or something, and then like have like a bridging gap that brings them all together and puts them into CGI or a hand drawn or whatever the fuck you want to do.
Which is what
so,
I
like,
want
you
to
have
see.
them like. Yeah, so you would have them like introduce who they are, what their traits are, what their names are, and all this stuff. So I feel like that would fill time. Plus, you could do this in like under like 10 minutes or so. Like, and then you just like set up who these characters are, what their motivations are, where they come from, where thing. I always say like not many movies like this need like a very long period of time to get established stuff. You can done right, you can establish like in like under 10 minutes flat, if not a bit longer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think like a good example of this would probably be the Nicktoons video games that they made about a decade ago. Nicktoons Unite, Nicktoons Battle over Guinea Island, Attack of the Toy Bots, and also the free Jimmy Power Hour crossovers they did with which is a crossover with Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents.
Yep.
I always like those.
Yeah, Proto, what do you think?
I'm really on the fence to it because I have played those games, but the only one I haven't played is Nicktoons United, and thank God because that game looked fucking horrible. But I have played Attack on Over Canine and Attack of the Toy Bots, and my problem with those two games is basically how the story goes because the story mostly is okay at best, but it always fucks up at the end by having a climax that really is not satisfying in the slightest. I wish that if they do a movie about this, they should really get right. They really should get writers that can make a good story out of it and make an ending that actually closes the story in a satisfying way. But that's just me.
So basically get Phil Lord and Christopher Miller to do this.
Actually, that's actually a crossover is perhaps the biggest challenge as far as writing is concerned, because you gotta keep the characters maintain their core personalities and their origins while still able to interact with someone who they would never meet with in their original stories. Now,
exactly.
Now, DC and Marvel have been doing this like forever with their characters, but it's a completely different ballgame when it comes to something towards television, which is why crossovers on television is extremely rare, because it's really, really hard to try to get everyone together in a very limited time frame and get them interact and then resolve on something. So it's okay if it's just like two shows, as we see with Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron, Steven Universe and Uncle Grandpa, and so on and so forth. But if you're going to have multiple characters from multiple shows, then you gotta be able to find a way how to get them all together, let them be together for a common cause, and then resolve it.
Well, I feel like the best way to resolve something like this is either two things. One, not do it at all. Two, if you have to do it, choose very selectively. Like, don't just throw like all of these Nicktoons. Just choose like. If I had to pick off the top of my head,
I would agree with George. There's something that I would agree with you, George, because if they're gonna do a Nicktoons crossover, they're not gonna bring everybody in, of course. They'll probably be bringing in the characters that best to relate to one another. So, for example, Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner have pretty much met before, so they have interacted before, so they're good. And
if either of them are either in the movie.
Right, and then I don't know. Then you just have to think about somebody who would interact with those two best. SpongeBob, if only because of the fact I think there was one episode of SpongeBob or Jimmy Neutron where they actually showed the Pineapple House, so as a tribute. So that's one way of connecting them. not together. But that's also another thing. How would these different shows with these different characters in their worlds ever get connected together?
Well,
Now,
here's what I was gonna say. Like, if you had to pick like specific characters to bring into something like this, you had to pick like either the most iconic or the most obscure, and like try to figure like a perfect balance between like the obscure and the iconic. So for me, I would choose Jimmy, Timmy, and SpongeBob for the iconic, and Cat Dog, Rocco, and Ren and Stimpy for the very obscure.
I don't
I
know if
mean,
Ren and Stimpy are really obscure.
no, I wouldn't
Well,
agree. I wouldn't think of that as well.
yeah.
I think here's the let me explain on this one because this will probably help you out. In the recent Super Robot Wars story, there was this incident wherein a dimensional rift created by a powerful god because of he has a war with other gods for control of the multiverse has caused several shows which are not related to one another being formed into this one strange universe. So if Voltron and I'm thinking about another giant robot, so let's say for the sake of our what's that that giant robot Cartoon Network with the car that's complete at the top of my head.
Megas
Oh.
What are you talking about?
Megas XL. Okay, these two, Megas and the Voltron. Let's say these two shows are from different worlds. They are not related to one another, and then because of this dimensional rift, the two shows become merged as one. So Mega Story and Voltron Story are part of a single timeline, and they have to work together to figure out how to either maintain the timeline or go back to the original state. Now, I would think of a similar way with the case of Nicktoons because you have SpongeBob, who's a sponge, Rocco a wallaby, and then you have a number of human characters. I'm thinking that because the Fairly Odd Parents has magic involved,
Yeah.
that would play a very key role in creating something that would cause these various shows to come together, despite the fact that they're from different worlds.
Sure.
Well, I just thought of this as well. Like, if you want to make something like this, and you have like you want to like take in like a lot of characters, you want to have a lot of things. Why not make this like a made-for-TV trilogy or something? Like, do something like what Fairly Odd, like something like what Fairly Odd Parents would have been with Wishology. Like, you have like free like hour-long specials that are basically like they set up all the characters, they set up what the plot is. Like the first one sets up what the plot and the characters.
Yeah.
The second one is about like them going for the conflict, and the third one is them resolving the conflict and going back to their worlds and stuff. Like I don't necessarily see it as like good as like a box office prize.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. In fact, that's exactly what the Super Robot Wars franchise did in their recent story arc. Is that they actually produced 3 different games over 5 to 7 years because it's a very, very long arc. You get all of these characters involved, and then by the time of the third arc, everybody's band together in a battle against a very powerful god. And basically, I know a little Japanese, but I do understand most of the stories, and it's quite epic. And I would like, and if Nicktoons gonna do the same thing, is gonna do something like this, a trilogy would be fine as well. Make the first one pretty much set up a scenario where all these characters come together, and then by the third scenario, they pretty much find the root of the problem, and then settle it once and for all in an epic conclusion. Guys?
Yeah.
My one,
And I feel like if there's anything I've
thing about
learned
it would be.
You know.
Sorry, do you want to go first?
Oh no, you go first.
Or do you want me to go first? My one thing about it is, if they do it for a made-for-TV trilogy, I think the way to go with it would be just straight animation, because because it's going to be cheaper, and I honestly think if they did it made-for-TV live action, and considering how we've seen how that can go with Fairly Odd Parents, I really wouldn't want to see that. I would rather see it just as straight animation, because as a movie with live action, you get a lot more of a budget, and I think it could work better that way.
But then again, I'll have so many.
I can see it working though. I can see it working as a made-for-TV like trilogy if it's done in a certain way.
But then there's gonna be so much artistic conflict because there's so many creators on board, and it might not even work.
It depends.
It depends, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
And George left.
Oh.
And there goes our worst.
Well, I guess I have to hold it down now.
But yeah, that pretty much concludes. So moving on.
I think. Do we still have any more Nicktoon
Yep.
topics? I
Oh,
don't
no.
know if we do. I believe the next topic was going to be more on John's speed, which was the Attack on Titan movie release.
Yep. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yes, for everybody who is watching this, well, most likely on YouTube later, who is a fan of mine, you already know that I am not. Well, I like Attack on Titan, the anime, but I have not seen the movie. But John has seen the movie, and he will probably tell you exactly how many things are wrong with it.
Okay, so I think I can fill up with that. So, for those of you who do not know, Attack on Titan is a long-running manga and anime franchise
Hello?
that came out early December. Hey George, we can hear you. Um, the story is about it's set in this.
Guys, you there? Hello?
Yep, we are.
Yes, we are here, George.
Hello?
Can you hear us, George?
Hello. Is this thing...
No, it's not working.
We can hear you, but I guess you can't hear us.
Hello?
Hold on.
Somebody typed to him.
Sorry, my computer... I can hear you guys now. My Wi-Fi
Okay.
my Wi-Fi crashed.
Anyway, we were
Okay.
talking about Attack on Titan, so I'll just continue here. So basically, the story of Attack on Titan is that we have this it's set in a fictional European setting in which the human race is being invaded by these humanized giants called Titans, who, for reasons unknown, basically attack and consume people. So we have this guy named Aaron Yeager, who was one of the survivors of one of the early initial attacks, being trained to combat these giants. And basically things get more complicated off that, but it has a lot of action and a lot of pretty much blood and gore. But it has a great number of characters, a lot of action, a lot of pretty much complicated stories that it became the next big thing since anime hits like Naruto, Dragon Ball, and others. So recently this
And
year,
also
Japan has
gained
released the
and also gained a pretty good overrated banner as well. It gained,
Yes,
it
it
gained a
It
great
is overrated.
following, but it of course gained the ultimate tag of overratedness.
Yes.
Even though I'm a fan of it, I can even say like, I can see where that's come
hate it.
from.
It's so bad. I'm sorry.
I mean, I remember watching the original anime series, and then I can see why they're being hyped because it's a little more mature than that most people would used to be for a mainstream anime series. But beyond that, beyond all the gore and all that stuff that's been coming out, and a lot of character deaths, it plays a lot similar to your typical shonen anime like Naruto or Dragon Ball and that stuff, in which Eren, the main character, starts off as this weakling, but as time goes on, he gets stronger and stronger in order to take on these giant titans. So that's behind my beef. Now, moving on to the movie, like I said before, Japan has recently released the first of the two-part Attack on Titan movie earlier this year, and the reviews of the movies not exactly. I wouldn't say it exactly bombed. It did beat the Minions in its area in Japan in the box office.
I meant reviews. It bombed.
But the reviews are awful, in which a lot of people say there's nothing in the movie that resembles the anime at all.
And
And you saw it, didn't you?
I'll say this: a lot of movie adaptations have a very, very hard time following the animes. A lot of them. There are some exceptions, I'm sure, but there are a lot of
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think there's a single good adaptation. Like,
So
really, I don't.
far, I haven't really seen.
Actually, George, if you really want to see a movie that's based on an anime that's really, really good, I would recommend you watch the Rurouni Kenshin movies. Better than Samurai X, some Westerners. That was basically the best adaptation I've seen. The problem with the problem with the case of Attack on Titan, this is according to the creator of the show, who was actually involved in making the movie, is that number one, they can't shoot the movie in a European country. That's problem one, because the original Attack on Titan was set in a European country, and all the characters there except one are not Japanese. So in this version, the live action version, they decided to make everybody Japanese for some strange reason.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just
it has the
doesn't
last
make
airbender
sense.
problem.
That really doesn't make sense. Like you could really figure out a way to fix that. I think there can name like a ton of actors that could fit into this role or something. I've never seen the anime. I've wanted to. I've never been like that into anime, but I've been warming up to it a bit lately. I've just been looking for some animes to watch for the past couple of days. Since I have cable, I might watch some of the stuff they have on Toonami and stuff and catch up when they have there. And Attack on Titan's been on my radar for a while, but the problem with it is that I'm gonna sound like a complete wuss, but I really can't handle really, really fucking heavy stuff. Like I'm talking really devastating stuff. I've talked about this several times on this podcast.
Then I would suggest you avoid watching Evangelion, because the psychological impact on that one is gonna mess your head.
I would also avoid
And then
watching,
I've seen Hellsing, and there's too much blood. That is blood.
Oh, that's nothing, Sylph. Trust me.
then-
If you really want to see the most disturbing anime in terms of gore and blood, look no further than Devilman and Violence Jack. And that was in the 70s or 80s or something, for that matter. Yes,
What?
they are that disturbing, and it still stands to this day. I can attest to that. Trust me. A lot of people still find those two works, even though they're from the 70s, as one of the most disturbing anime and manga stories ever made. And it's from a guy. And it's from a guy. From a guy who actually wants to advocate to provide a message of peace by showing how pretty much dark and grim the world's gonna be if everyone wants to kill each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't necessarily feel like you have to mention it's from the 70s, as a bad thing, because I'm currently reading The Stepford Wives by Aaron Levin, and this is a 1972 book, and I think it's really held up well, even though it's from the 70s, and I don't really necessarily feel like a time period has a right really detract from the overall quality of something. If something's good, it doesn't matter what year it came from.
Oh, of course.
It's still going to be good.
Of course. Two anime I would add to that list, though, are, of course, Elfen Lied, which is probably one of the goriest anime you would watch.
Glorious and depressing. Elfen Lied.
Oh, yes, yes.
That.
And
School Days.
That one too, but another one that fits into the category is Dead Man Wonderland, which is also extremely gory and really starts off extremely depressing.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
is nerve-wracking. I'm actually a bit saddened that from what I've heard, the franchise is pretty much good and dead, and that the future of Dead Man Wonderland will now be in pachinko machines, which is a shame, because I read the original manga, and it's a really, really compelling. Despite all the blood and gore, it has a really, really compelling story, and I really got hooked onto it. I'm just so sad that none of that's going to be seen on screen, for that matter. So that's another one.
So, as far as the Attack on Titan movie goes, one of the big problems is, of course, the casting. Another big problem that I heard in the Attack on Titan movie is that one of the biggest characters featured in the anime, who is Levi, was not in the movie at all.
What? What?
Now, for your fans, so Levi is basically the most popular character in all of Attack on Titan. So it's kind of similar to name a character that is the most popular in any particular show. So in Adventure Time, the most popular character is Marceline. So if there's going to be an adaptation, then they said, we're going to get rid of Marceline. We're just going to have someone else in. That was the big outcry. Levi is pretty much, it's like you're trying to create a Justice League movie, but without Batman and Superman. You can't make a Justice League movie without Batman and Superman? Well, actually you can, but still, those two are like the big icons.
it would be much more difficult.
Right.
But
Yeah,
as you
definitely,
basically
because like
said,
you would have to be like insanely creative to pull off something like that. But
And
as
it didn't.
from what I've seen of this show, this movie, like these people are anything but creative.
And here's a,
apparently they had reasoning for it, but it wasn't exactly good reasoning.
Yep.
Like, I don't
yes.
know. What was the reasoning, John?
The reason for this is that this is from the creator, from the director himself. I read it on Rocket News 24, which is a website that gives info on Japanese pop culture. They also reported this, and according to them, the reason they can't get Levi is because Levi is very, very hard to pronounce in Japanese, and it's not even a Japanese name.
What?
So, because Levi is European. I mean,
They can't learn one English word, really? Levi.
here, let me explain, because I do know a little Japanese. Is that if you're gonna speak Levi in Japanese, it's gonna be Revi, or Revi. There's no re, or there's Revi or Revi. So
Wow.
unfortunately, it doesn't sound Japanese at all. So because of that, they decided to get rid of Levi as a character in the movie, and a lot of people are upset that one of the most iconic characters in the anime, one of the most popular, and one of the most critical members, he plays a very, very critical role in the story, gets pulled out because they couldn't pronounce his name in Japanese right, because it doesn't sound Japanese.
Wow.
Oh, poor babies. They really couldn't.
Yeah.
Bravo, just bravo.
And here's the worst part. The worst part, the creator of Attack on Titan approved it.
Approved it or pulled it?
Approved it.
Oh boy. Oh, that's stupidity.
Wow. Just
isn't it wonderful?
Fucking wow.
This is why I suddenly realized that perhaps by coincidence, Attack on Titan is having the same creative directional problem as Fantastic Four. With the difference is that, Josh Trank wants to make it completely different without using the source material. In Attack on Titan, it's the creator who's pretty much making all of these changes, and that turns out pretty much bad.
That's insane. That's genuinely insane. Like, with bad adaptations, tons of bad adaptations I can name off the top of my head. They're made by people who clearly don't know the source material. People who just made this for the sake of making money, unless you're someone like George Miller and you made it out of your own passion and wanted to make a really good movie out of it, and he did. I bought it on fucking Blu-ray, for fuck's sake. And so, yeah, people like that. And then you have this, where the original goddamn creator didn't once questioned any of these obviously really, really, really bad choices.
Man, and I report Nickelodeon, and I think this is bad.
Join the club.
Hey Nick, you don't
the award for thing said on this entire podcast goes to Clint.
You knew it was going to anyway.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, as somebody who has seen a lot of, let's say, very stupid things come from people, whether they be creators or business heads, just the reasoning behind that very thing is just incredible. It's incredibly bad. I mean, just to completely absolve an entire character because of his name is really bad. Honestly, I think a lot of the fans would have been fine if they had changed his name a little bit to fit the translation, rather than completely absolve him from the story altogether, because, as I said, Levi is maybe one of the most popular characters, if not the most popular human character in Attack on Titan. A lot of people I talk to put him way above Eren Yeager in terms of likability and overall character development.
I would agree more, because that guy is an absolute he's basically the modern day badass. I mean, in the 70s we have some guy named Ryo Magare who doesn't give a crap even if he fights a god, he'll chop him off with the axe. That's how badass he is. He's a character from Get a Robo, if you want to know that. And then probably around the 80s, we have Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. He's pretty much inspired by Bruce Lee and Mad Max. And then in the 90s, we have, of course, Goku from Dragon Ball, and now we have Eren Yeager, or no, Levi for that matter, who's pretty much the coolest badass in modern anime. And to have him pulled out of this, it's just insane.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like, you could have just changed his name, like to something like, I don't know, Jack or fucking Bruce, something. I don't know, but that the name doesn't matter. As long as the character is still the same character he was in the anime, if he's still written well, if he's still a badass, that'll be fine. I think people would have still been fine about his name change. But to completely remove him just by his name alone, that's beyond stupid. That is borderline mentally retarded.
Nationalistic.
You want me to sum it up? I can sum it up very well.
If it would be one thing if the entire thing is overstuffed and they're like looking for people to cut, that would make sense. But this is just insane.
Yeah, if I were to sum it up, I would sum it up by saying, at least the Avatar movie, as bad as it is and as stupid as it is, didn't get rid of a main character. I mean, they did some awful things. They may have made some people white and Indian, but they kept every character and they kept their names kind of right.
What was it, Ong or something?
Let's not talk about Ong.
Sorry.
But at least, this is getting rid of an entire character that would really just mess up the plot. Like, that's like Avatar getting rid of Zuko. Like, it kind of messes a few things up in the end.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
But yeah. Overall, I mean, like I've seen some really bad ideas because, again, I run the page of bad ideas with Nickelodeon. But this is probably one of the worst ideas you could see. And now you can see a lot of reasons why people don't like the movie. And people said that one is going to be even worse.
Yeah. And coming to America.
Yes, and speaking of which, is that the second Attack on Titan movie is going to be coming out in Japan later this month, or if not October. But it has been announced by the Asahi newspaper that that both movies, Part 1 and 2, will be released in America sometime this month and then later next month.
That's gonna be sad. I want to see the reviews for that. We're more picky.
The fact that people are saying it's going to be worse than this one doesn't give me much hope.
Yeah, don't get hope. You're not even excited. Just wait for the worst, and it's gonna hurt less.
Yep.
There's actually even a spin-off, a live-action spin-off series based on the movie, which is just as bad.
What?
What?
Yes. I kid you not. A spin-off.
Not even Americans are that desperate, for shit's sake.
There is indeed a live-action spin-off of Attack on Titan movie, which is a series of short stories that is pretty much very, very much terrible. That's just as terrible, to be honest.
Is it based off the actual manga that is a bunch of short stories? Because there is an Attack on Titan release that is like 4 short stories that have nothing to do with the main cast. They're just like completely separate stories themselves.
Right.
I guess this could be the loose base interpretation of that.
It's a miniseries, to be exact.
All right.
So it's currently available. It's a 3-part miniseries. It's currently available in Japan on demand, and it's titled Attack on Titan: Signal of the Counterattack.
Wow, that doesn't fit at all.
No, it doesn't fit at all. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be like a side story to the movies.
What?
So where does the counterattack come in if it's a spin-off? If it's a counterattack, usually it's a sequel title, considering the fact that you've been attacked before. Why do you think Star Wars was called The Empire Strikes Back? Something happened in the first movie that correlated to the second, and this is a spin-off. So, there is no counterattack.
there's like, is it like a spin-off of the sequel? Because that would make sense, but it's like a spin-off of the original movie. 'Cause that would
It's a spin.
make sense.
It's a spin-off
So,
of both films.
what is it supposed to be like?
It's
For
kind of like the Animatrix, how it's supposed to be a supplemental story to the Matrix, except it's just as bad.
Ah,
Oh,
well,
oh god,
I guess
fucking damn it.
I guess the next order of business is Disney and Wander Over Yonder.
yes,
Let's
that is
just wrap
the
this up
next
real
piece of
quick.
business.
The final figure is that. Let's wrap this up. The final verdict. I know nothing about Attack on Titan. I don't plan on seeing this movie anytime soon.
Please.
I have no idea why it's going to be released in U.S. theaters, like, considering how badly it did critically and financially and potentially financially.
They're going by the
But
name
then
draw.
again,
They're going by the name
Who's
draw. That's what
releasing
they're doing.
What's the company releasing the movie?
I live in a town where they're showing that Spanish Egg movie, and I think Hitman is still playing in my theaters. So yeah.
I didn't
Well,
even know that came out.
There are two other pieces of news. One small one is that for anybody who cares, Steven Universe is back next week.
man,
Oh sweet.
man, let's go on to the juicy one.
Yes, hooray!
What? I
So-
like Steven Universe.
I kind of like it too because I'm actually more interested in how Steven Universe will perform against regular show, which is now currently the top favorite show, beating Teen Titans Go for 3 times now since the start of August.
I want to see how the ratings do in general because ever since summer ended, CN's new Thursday ratings have gone down quite a bit. Like Teen Titans Go used to be the leader, and now it's just kind of the middle of the pack.
Yay! That's good news.
Well, yes.
That's good news.
All the CN shows are just kind of in the 1.5 range, except for, of course, Rick and Morty, which is constantly getting 2 million views.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is
because
great.
Rick and Morty has a good fan voice and actually has been improving as of late.
Oh,
Like,
oh,
this is
hell
coming
yeah.
from someone who hated the first season. I've actually seen a bit of season 2, and it's actually surprisingly really good.
Oh, it's I love season 2. Season 2 has really improved on season 1 greatly. But overall, the big news is something that I was fearing that was going to happen after I saw the horrible ratings it was getting on Disney XD, along with Starburst, The Forces of Evil, and Hidden Zero's ratings. Is that Wander Over Yonder is most likely, or very...
Look
Wander
at
Over Yonder is ending.
my
after
profile
season 2.
picture, people. That's my reaction.
Yep.
Like,
Um,
that-
As
Freaking
far as I
reaction.
know, John also reported it. The same sort of website that's shilling out all of the current production works of California-made shows lists Wander Over Yonder as wrapping up production for season 2. The same is said for Gravity Falls. However, Gravity Falls has the basis of the director of it saying that season 2 is done, but the story is not, meaning that there is going to be more for Gravity Falls even after season 2 ends. Whether that's a season 3 or a movie is not yet disclosed. But Wander Over Yonder, which just started season 2, will be ending after season 2 ends. Hopefully, if Wander Over Yonder is ending, it can end with its story tied up well. Because I don't watch a lot of Wander Over Yonder, but I heard from a lot of people that the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2 really started to ramp up the story
yeah,
that
it
it's
did.
telling,
It really did.
and a lot of people are upset about it. The one thing I'm upset about is something I've been upset about since really the ratings have been starting to go down for all the shows, and that is Disney pushing all of its animated programming onto
To Disney
XD,
XD.
which is a satellite channel which not everybody gets, and that's why the ratings are failing. I don't want these animated shows to be ending and failing because of Disney not wanting to put them on the main network. Because
Yeah,
all Disney has on the main network, aside from those Mickey Mouse shorts, is live-action shows, and that's a
Yeah.
big problem. Disney used to have a bunch of great animated shows on their main channel, and Gravity Falls started on their main channel, and I think Wander even did too. But they suddenly had this movement of pushing everything on XD, and though some of the things on XD have been performing well, like Starburst
Doraemon.
Starverse is in its debut scored record-breaking numbers, and Gravity Falls: Tale of Two Stands scored record-breaking numbers with really, really great um, numbers there. Tale of Two Stands broke Starverse's record. So obviously Disney XD can draw, but the lack of support that it has, being a satellite network that everybody gets, basically being Disney's Nicktoons channel, shows that the shows do not have a sustainable rating system. The only one that's sustainable is Gravity Falls, and that's because it already has an established fan base. Gravity Falls,
and it seems like on top of this,
Gravity Falls constantly gets over 1 million views despite being on XD. But even then, that's kind of low for Gravity Falls.
Which is sad, because something I was going to bring up with like Wander ending, because I'm going to be honest, I'm fine with Wander ending, because I honestly, I feel like it could go on for another season, but I feel like 2 is the perfect demo for it to go. If they just wrap up the story well, they give them like a dozen more episodes. I feel like that will be the perfect amount of time for them to like wrap up everything and then just end it. So that way you can have 2 really, really good seasons there instead of it just having like stretched out like for like just.
I'm gonna have to disagree. Wait, I'm gonna have to disagree.
As long as Craig and Lauren know that the show is ending and had time to make an ending.
Lauren isn't working on the show anymore.
I thought she. Oh well.
No, she left for Medusa, the Sony movie.
Okay. Well, as long as Craig knew the show was ending and got notice that the show would not be renewed, he could make a great ending to the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I
feel like the same could be said with Gravity Falls as well, because Alex Hirsch is a really talented writer, and he really knows how to really craft story. I mean, I haven't caught up on Gravity Falls like a couple months, but I'm planning on it. And so like. But that's not what bugs me about like them ending and Gravity Falls possibly getting canceled as well. My problem with it is that there's no reason why they're getting canceled, and there's actually a reason why the ratings have been this bad. It's because you keep moving it. Why do you keep moving it?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, George, about it ending after season 2. It, as Clint did say, it has been getting better. I do have Disney XD, thankfully. But it's only really recently that the story has gone, and 12 episodes is not going to suffice for what's been happening.
Some of the big problems with Disney's animated programming is, honestly, Disney is horrible with their animation scheduling. Like, Gravity Falls will take month-long breaks, Starverses will take month-long breaks. I don't know about Wander if it takes long breaks. But
no, not really.
In terms of Starverses, like when it debuted, it got great numbers, but then it took like a month-long break for the next one, and the ratings just plummeted. And that's because they didn't strike while the iron is hot. It also moved studios, which also factored into production time. But overall, between the satellite network and Disney's scheduling for their animated shows, it has affected the ratings, and overall could have affected Disney's overall interpretation of renewing them or not.
And it seems like they don't do what the Cartoon Network does. It's like the Cartoon Network takes feedback from the internet, and that's why they keep renewing and renewing. It doesn't seem like Disney is
Cartoon Network factors in a lot of things. They factor in the
but they seem to only factor in viewings. They don't look at fan art or anything.
They factor in viewing a lot, Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I know, but they factor in too.
They also factor in the female demographic, which is something that they did not do before, which is something that has renewed a lot of shows. Essentially, the female demographic alone has given new seasons to Teen Titans Go and regular show, I know.
And online feedback has helped, but Disney doesn't seem to give a crap, which is really sad.
Disney is amazingly inept at advertising their animated shows, and considering this is Disney, that's just amazing to me right now.
Yeah,
but
what do you think, Roberto?
We don't know if this is gonna happen. Craig McCracken still has yet to confirm this, so this for now is a rumor. Hopefully it's not true, but if it is, then I'm actually very sad because he deserves more respect than this.
Well, hey, if Wander ends, maybe Craig can come back for the Powerpuff Girls reboot.
Yeah, hopefully, and then kick Disney's ass where it hurts.
Who knows?
No, Craig already he has nothing to do with that. So
I know, but if he suddenly doesn't have any work, he could maybe be a consultant on the show or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a huge maybe.
I know it's a huge maybe. I was just saying, it's a possibility somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he deserved more respect than this. I knew this was gonna happen.
Hmm.
yeah.
So
Well,
overall, I believe that's really all of the news. George disappeared again.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
here's the thing with the we do know that as far as the animation guild is saying that Wonder Over Yonder is ending, but it is still at the Disney executives' ballpark if they want to renew it or not. So there is that small glimmer of hope that Wonder will continue, but not that much.
Well,
yep.
here's hoping. In the end, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, if Wander does not continue, it at least has a justified end and a good end and doesn't leave people constantly forever questioning what would happen next. Um,
Hmm.
in the end, yeah, hopefully Wander has a good end so it doesn't have people basically on the Nickelodeon side of things constantly questioning how these shows would end and overall have such abrupt cancellations that these reboots and revivals would basically have to happen 10 years
And
in
the
the
problem
future.
is they just started the story this season. Hopefully
Yeah, so
within the season the ratings will go up by word of mouth or something, but I don't think this is gonna have a good ending if it ends this season. It just started and he wants to expand on Lord Hader's backstory as well.
yes.
So it's not gonna end well if this
So
ends too soon.
anyway, is that all that we have to report?
Uh,
I
I believe
guess
that's
so.
everything.
But yeah,
Hmm.
and I mostly do agree. Like if like I feel like with the ratings and everything, I feel like Craig is smart enough to know that this was coming to plan most of this out. So my bet is that it'll possibly revive this, like resolve everything within a couple more, like a couple dozen more episodes, maybe less. I'm not sure, but either way, I think it'll resolve it well. If not, oh well. Oh well, he'll find a way. He always finds a way.
Just
yeah.
like Drake and Josh.
For yeah.
Like Drake and Josh,
Anyway,
they always find a way.
so that, yep. Uh, and I guess that resolves everything, really. Yeah.
I think so.
All right. So yeah, that's been quite the
Nicktoons, Bad
podcast.
Titans, and Wander Over Yonders. What a way to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much
All right.
personal,
So
interrupting speech, so much great stuff.
Yeah.
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 Constantly being dropping out because of my computer fucking despising me for some apparent reason. Look, I'm sorry I keep dropping you. My fucking fan keeps getting in the way.
And
It happens.
okay.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
this has been
anyways,
This has been the
it was,
Master Tunes podcast with me, your host, George Baum. And if you want to keep in touch with us, I'll let you know where you can find me, and the others can do the same with where you can find them. You can find me on Facebook at my regular name, George Baum. That's Baum, B-A-U-M, not Baum, like many people fail to pronounce it. I'm looking at you, whatever. Anyway, you can also find me on Letterboxd and on my personal Facebook page that I do movie reviews on, The In-House Critic, Facebook page / The In-House Critic. And I can find me here on YouTube and some of our other podcasts, and that's about it. And my letterbox is Ariel Rocks 5 at Ariel Rocks 5, basically. And I'm also on Twitter at the same thing. Sylvia?
I'm not gonna give that away, so.
Of course. Pro?
You can look me on YouTube. I'm proud to verify. There you will find my social media accounts. Also, thanks for letting me talk, you fucking bastards.
Sorry.
you're welcome.
Oops. Ryoga?
Okay, you can find me on YouTube as my username Yoga316, which I also do the Toons Podcast Extended, which is a spin-off of this one. Also, check out the Animation Nation Facebook page, and if you like my videos on YouTube, then please subscribe, guys.
And of course, you can find me at the Rise and Fall of Nickelodeon Facebook page, which is basically, I think, where all of these views are going to come from when you upload this on YouTube. So most of you are already going to know where I am. But
Yeah.
overall, it was a fun time. I had a very good time on this podcast, despite some static attacks like John had on his mic there, and overall the wonderful let me talk scenarios that everybody had. overall, it was just a fun time, good discussions, and overall, I guess, well, George just faded away again, but I was going to say, whenever this goes live on YouTube, I will upload it there. I will share it to the page, and overall, we can see maybe we can get Master Toons a couple more fans.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. That
Oh,
sucks
no
that George just went
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, it's been an
Yeah.
honor.
Usually he's the one who ends these, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So a little procrastination, I guess. I don't know.
What Not to Do at a Stoplight by the Rise and Fall of Nickelodeon. Feeding your snail is something not to do at a stoplight, as is karate chopping the TV and other things like setting your house on fire.
What?
Wow. Wow, this had a turn for the dark.
Yep.
Ooh,
What Not to Do with the Attack on Titan movie. One,
Make
don't
it.
eliminate a character. for
Don't
skill-
make it.
Yes, exactly. There you
Just
go.
don't
Just
fucking
end it.
make it.
Just end the conversation right there.
Yep.
Oh.
So many things wrong. So many things wrong.
Yeah. No,
Dang.
Oh boy.
oh boy, where the
Well,
fuck is, yeah, where the fuck is George?
Here he is.
George, no, finish this before you leave again. George?
End the pain. Of course, the pain.
Sorry,
Justin,
sorry,
Anyway.
that's fucking, again, sorry, can you guys hear me?
yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, my,
Yes.
computer, my, this Google Hangout crashed on me again. So anyway,
Alright.
time to stop finally. Sorry to delay this, ending for so long.
It's alright.
But anyway, this has been the Master Toons Podcast, and if you want to keep in contact with all of you can find us all on facebook.com/group/Master Toons Assembled, and you can also find all Nickelodeon. Thank you all for watching, and thank you, Quint, for being with us. It was a
No
pleasure
problem.
having you.
As I
and,
said,
we'll see you on-
you weren't on before when I said this, but whenever this is uploaded to YouTube, just send it to me and I'll post it on the page.
Oh, thank
will.
you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Alright.
And it was a pleasure being with you guys, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Stop already. Come on. Come on.
It's just never gonna